Greetings, everyone. It's Darth Cinema here again with another surprise stream here, and I have once again brought along my friend Max. How are you doing?
Oh, I was great about about what? Let's say 2.5 minutes ago.
2.5 minutes ago, yes, guys. The title is not a lie. We will be discussing the newest Ghostbuster trailer, or the Faux Busters, as Max called them. It's okay, guys. I think Max, you should take this one because you've got a lot to get off your chest. I'm gonna get some popcorn. I'm gonna drink my Coca-Cola here, and I will sit back and enjoy the show. Take it away.
Okay, first of all, honest to God, the first time I watched that trailer, I thought, yeah, that looks about right. That was like my entire reaction. And then Mr. Cinema made me watch it again just to have clarity on the issue, and it's actually more painful the second time.
Hey, I had to watch it too, so...
But like watching it the second time, all of the laziness really shined through. And okay, we're going to back up a little bit. I watched the movie Spy because I hate what Melissa McCarthy does. But you can't continue to hold an opinion without subjecting yourself to her latest in a barrage of awfulness. So I watched it. Yeah. Because if you don't know what you're talking about, you don't know what you're talking about. But I watched Spy, and I almost laughed once, and then they made sure to stop me, and then I did laugh once, and she wasn't the reason. So that was an awful movie, and I know a lot of people loved it because they like having the fat girl to laugh at, which is really the whole point of that movie. And I only bring up all this because Melissa McCarthy has a tendency, she and her friend Paul, who wrote the movie, they have a tendency to rely on, once you make a joke, make sure to then immediately explain the joke. That is 50% of her dialogue in the movie Spy is, oh, a joke happened. Now allow me to tell you that a joke happened. And she does that at one point in the trailer. It's a small one, but because of that being her shtick, it stuck out to me. And it's real fast, and all she does is she grabs a piece of machinery that is hot, and when she pulls her hand back, she says to no one, "That's really hot." Well, yeah, I got it. You burned yourself. It just sticks out as, yay, guess what we're going to get a lot more of? Melissa McCarthy explaining the joke.
Now, before my problem immediately started with at the very beginning of the trailer, because they're going 30 years ago, a team of four scientists saved New York. Not in this universe, they didn't.
Yeah, it's weird to me that they would even mention that, because first of all, way back when they were still trying to do a real Ghostbusters sequel, and Paul Feig, whoever the fuck you say his name, said, I want to do a cast with all women that will have nothing to do with the original movies. And I thought to myself, why would you want to make a movie that has nothing to do with the originals in such a high-profile case? I still don't know why he wanted to do that. And that was the selling point, at least for Bill Murray, was, oh, it won't be a sequel, then go ahead and do it. But now we know for a fact that even fucking Warwick Davis is credited in the movie as the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. It's on IMDb. It's on his website. It's not, I don't know what he's doing as it, but apparently we're just rehashing the original film. So it's not a separate film. You are intentionally creating a remake of a movie while excluding all the original characters and then you mention the fact that the other movie exists. Why would you do that? And why would you do that when your movie uses the same climactic battle, apparently?
And not even that, you're using the same beginning with the
Gray Lady, yeah.
Yeah, with the Gray Lady.
Which, by the way, brings up another point that I hate. And this isn't even about Ghostbusters specifically. It's just going to annoy me the entire movie. This is like with Superman being desaturated so much, and movies like, there was a long period between like 99 and I want to say like 2005 where a lot of movies like Underworld is a good example of like blue movies where you go to the theater and the entire film is just tinted blue for no reason. This movie, however, is incredibly oversaturated. Incredibly. Just the sunset shot at the very beginning of that trailer is already hyper realistic. And then the Gray Lady, who for some reason now is blue. All the ghosts are blue. Did you notice that?
Yeah, either blue or in Slimer's case, green.
Yeah, he's the only green one I saw. But the rest of them, and he's also the only one who even looks like a Ghostbusters entity. The rest of them just look like people in bright blue CG. And it's so colorful. It's so bright, and I don't know why. It's like the opposite of ghostly.
Yeah,
the Gray Lady at the beginning of Ghostbusters is actually pretty fucking terrifying.
Yeah, and that you bring up an excellent point, because the thing that this movie, the biggest problem that this movie is going to face, and already the film has a massive dislike ratio.
Oh yeah.
At least the trailer on YouTube. The trailer's got over 5 million hits, and over 100,000 people have disliked this movie. And people and feminists are quick to say that that we're being sexist because that it's an all-female team. I couldn't give a shit less if it was an all-female team.
Well,
I really couldn't. What we care about, the fact is, you have taken the Ghostbusters, which the original film balanced humor with genuine scares and actual like characters who actually gave a damn about it. And then you're turning it into pure slapstick. You don't take this movie seriously.
That's an excellent point that I hadn't really figured how to convey until you said that, because they took the famous "he slimed me" scene and they merged it with the Gray Lady, apparently, because when she's talking to it, instead of having her roar and attack them and scare them away, which again was genuinely fucking scary.
Oh yes, that was
in the original. Instead, she continues to levitate, perfectly motionless, and then just vomits what is in the trailer alone looks like a long shot of slime puke, which means in the movie it's just going to be really long, and they're going to hope that the longer she vomits, the funnier it is. Because then she cuts right to, oh, there was so much slime. So yeah, that's what they're ripping off / I guess duplicating, if you want to be generous. But it's not funny, and it's at a moment which is clearly not scary. So what have you done here except done a poorer version of two classic scenes, really?
Oh, Max, don't you know we're in the Five Nights at Freddy's age of scares? You don't have to have atmosphere or proper effects. All you need is a loud noise and a scary face and go ooga booga booga, and everyone will be jumping out of their seats.
She doesn't even do that. She just stands there and pukes at him.
I know. That's what it means. Minimal effort, and the money rolls in.
And I don't know what they're hoping to accomplish, because they spell out for you that people get possessed in the movie and it's weird because they don't actually say what the plot of the movie is in this trailer, and maybe it's because they are afraid of a backlash over the fact that it's Gozer again. I don't know, but they mention that people get possessed. And that's the only point where they show their Janine, and then but then instead of actually focusing on it, they show McCarthy being the one who gets possessed. The interesting thing is that the guy, it's what, Chris Hemsworth?
Yeah, that's Chris Hemsworth. That's Thor, ladies and gentlemen.
He gets possessed by a thing that they're calling the Red Demon. Now,
Discount Gozer.
well, the thing is, I think it's supposed to be Discount Zool because they don't give it a name. I've nowhere have I seen a name for this thing other than the Red Demon, which is really pathetic because Zool and Vince Clortho, there was thought put into that. Even Gozer's original name, something like Volgus Ziggurat. I'll have to look it up. But there's a lot of attention to detail in the original Ghostbusters and even the original scripts, and all that seems to be gone. And see, people would cry sexism when you pointed out the fact that the reason the Ghostbusters movies and even the cartoons and whatnot were so successful was because the characters were so well done. And now that you've gutted the characters, that faith isn't there. You can't have faith that someone's going to play Peter Venkman or someone's going to play Winston Zeddemore. You can't have that faith. And it's all brand new. And that could work to their favor, except that she's just playing Melissa McCarthy again.
She is. And the problem is, and the thing is that I'm very, very glad that is people are noticing this laziness and pointing it out. And this, I think, would be a great slap in the face to Hollywood. Basically saying, we want effort. We don't want a reskin of we don't want Ghostbusters with a fresh coat of paint and retelling us a story we already know. We want something new.
Well, and even then, even if you were doing an actual reboot, and I can't consider this a reboot because it doesn't have the characters, but even if you were doing a reboot, I would actually appreciate that more. Now, what I wanted, and what I think everyone wanted, was a Ghostbusters 3. And to that end, like, did you, when you might know this, I don't know, but when Sony had its internet or its email leak problem, one of the emails that came out was a conversation between the Sony execs and Channing Tatum, in which Channing Tatum was saying, I want to make Ghostbusters 3 with Chris Pratt. Now, to do that, that's two characters. And you don't even know if they both want to be Ghostbusters or if one is going to be the villain. Now, all you have to do to make Ghostbusters 3 happen is, first of all, under these circumstances, at the end of Ghostbusters 2, Louis Tully has taken on the proton pack and was firing off at the slime shell at the museum to try to help the guys inside. So even with Egon dead and gone, you would still have 4 guys working because you could have Louis being the 4th guy now. But you just have to start the story with the 4 of them being old and beat up, which was what Aykroyd and Ramis wanted in the first place. And you have Ray Stantz talking about all the new jobs they've got lined up for this week, and you have them all being fucking old. And Winston says, man, we can't be doing this. We're 67 years old. We have got to retire. We are over retirement age. Yeah, and then you have Ray say, I don't think we should, but this is our baby. And then you have Venkman sell him on the idea because Venkman is the salesman. He can do that. And you have Louis say, you know, we're all covered. I've made sure of that because I'm a tax attorney. I'm a financial wizard. That was his character the whole time. And then you just have them say, well, let's take some not auditions, but interviews. So, and here's the thing. If you have Peter Venkman doing the interviews while Ray and Winston watch on from the side, it would make perfect sense for all of his people, all the people he's interviewing, to be young women. Peter Venkman would totally do that. That would totally bring us an all-female team if that's what we really needed.
Like, seriously, from the point you just gave, from that little pitch alone, not only could you have set up this film, you could have also set up the rumored Ghostbusters 3 with, say, the mix of, because I believe the Channing Tatum and Chris Pratt one was going to have a mix of male and female members of the team.
Yeah.
Which, that would have been amazing. Seriously, Chris Pratt.
And here's the other thing. It's so simple because you could have that setup and that setup would take, what, 10 minutes out of a movie? And movies
20
these days,
at most.
Yeah, and the movies these days are 2 hours anyway. So you'd still have the full 90 minutes for your characters to get up and go. But you could also just say, have some scientists in Los Angeles who are seeing a lot of weird shit going on, and they contact Ray and Venkman. And they say, hey, we got some weird shit. You want to check it out? And have them come in, check it out, say, yep, you got a problem. Here's the equipment. Go ahead and fix it. We're really old, and this isn't our city. Simple. It's so simple to set up an actual sequel. And it kills me so much that Bill Murray made sure that there would be no Ghostbusters 3. And then this guy comes along and says, I want to make a Ghostbusters movie that has nothing to do with anything. And he says, okay. And he's apparently signed on to do some role in the movie.
Well, is Bill Murray ashamed of it?
Well, from what I understand, look, here's what happened. Way back when they said we're going to make Ghostbusters, Peter Venkman was supposed to be John Belushi. John Belushi died, but the movie's really good. The script is great. It's already been greenlit. We're going to make this movie. Belushi's dead. Who do we get? Well, Dan and Ramis were already friends with Bill Murray, and they're going to make this movie. It's a sure thing. So Bill says, fine, I'll fill in. That, I think, was the first mistake, because I've read the script. It's a great script. And then Bill Murray showed up. And then Sony said, hey, now that we've got Bill Murray, we should give him more things to do in the movie because he's Bill Murray. What that did was that gutted the character of Winston Zeddemore, who went from being this post-military weapons expert to being just kind of the grounded guy from the outside who isn't a scientist and is just kind of experiencing this shit for the first time. Which is okay, but it was a great character and it became an okay character. In fact, example, because Winston was the skeptic in the group, the guy who wasn't in on all this ghost shit, he was the guy who got slimed. He was the guy who trained everybody on how to use the proton packs. He was the guy who thought of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man because he was the skeptic, and so it was every step was flying in the face of his skepticism. That was kind of his character arc. What we ended up with was a pretty great movie with just enough flaws to forgive because Bill Murray showed up. He hates Ghostbusters 2 largely because when the studio said, okay, we're going to make Ghostbusters 2, write us a movie, Dan and Harold wrote a movie, and then the studio said, hey, we like the slime idea. We're going to make a bunch of special effects. And, could you rewrite your script to fit our special effects? Which is not really a good method for making a movie.
So it was studio meddling.
Oh, big time. For number 2, absolutely. I mean, look, it's Sony. Let's not kid ourselves. Sony has been fucking up movies for probably its entire existence.
Spider-Man.
Well, exactly. Sony just does not understand that you can make good movies by meddling with great productions. They just don't seem to get that. But that's what happened. Is Ghostbusters 2 would have been another great movie, and they fucked with it basically, and it's an okay movie. It's, if you read the script, even the shooting script, it's so much better. Everything comes across so much clearer than what the movie gave us. So he hates Ghostbusters 2, or at least he hates the experience that he had making it. What confused me so much is that since, oh God, what? Since 2005 or whatever, when the video game came out, that's when he got it in his head that, yeah, making a third movie might be pretty good too. But now it's this thing where if someone else wants to take it off my hands, that's good too. You know, it's this weird. He like, got it.
He wants to make it, but at the same time, he's afraid of a repeat of Ghostbusters 2.
Well, but the thing is, you can't get that repetition. It's when Bill Murray at this look, that was 1989 when he was just a movie star. Today, he's Bill Murray. So if Bill Murray says, we can make Ghostbusters 3, but I get final script approval, then he gets final script approval. There's no denying that. Because the entire production of Ghostbusters 3 was hinged on him saying he would do it. So don't try to tell yourself that he didn't get the ultimate say on any decision made for the movie. It was all on him. So here's a guy who says no, 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 and then says, it gives his blessing to this movie with an all-female cast, strictly apparently because of an all-female cast, and then he takes a part in the movie. What? That doesn't make any sense.
It really doesn't.
I'm assuming he's playing Ivo Shandor. I mean, like when Gozer shows up in its human form instead of being the gymnast lady, it'll probably be Bill Murray. I don't know for sure, but that's what I expect.
Given that this film is already taking elements from the first film, I mean, it wouldn't.
It's you know what it reminds me of though? It's clearly it's just rehashing the first movie.
Oh yeah,
but it also feels like Pixels.
You are not the first person to say that, actually.
Every sweeping street shot at night, especially that I've seen from the footage, it all just looks like generic big budget movie stuff like it did in Pixels. And I'm sorry, but oh my God, every time I see that shot of and I can't remember the girl's name, the woman's name, I guess, but they show, I think it's McCarthy pulls out the neutrino wand from the proton pack and starts firing away. But then they show the blonde chick as she pulls out a set of handguns from the bottom of the proton pack. And I just every time I see that, I'm just like, really, guys? Handguns? They've got what, proton pistols now? What was that? Is that what was missing? Did that make this franchise better now? Really? It's so fucking cheesy. Like, and I mean like dumb cheesy, not charming.
Yeah, I was just about to say, because some people would argue that the original Ghostbusters was cheesy too, but you covered that.
But it's not even a cheesy movie. Look, the interaction between Ray and Venkman had a lot of smart aleck comments that were intentionally cheesy things that a real person would say to his friend, you know, but this, it just looks like, I guess the comparison with Pixels is everything is just so super bright and saturated, and the contrast is distracting visually. But then it's like it's trying so hard while being so lazy.
Well, it's like with Pixels, you know, you can kind of get away with it because again, they're video game characters from like the '80s, where everything was much was bright and colorful and whatnot. So I mean, at least Pixels had a reason.
Yeah, but I just mean like just the way the movie is shot.
Yeah, I totally understand. I'm saying that the neon colors of the ghosts, and was just so stupid. And I hate that practical effects are being thrown away for CGI. And that was my biggest complaint with Jurassic World, that that one scene in the entirety of Jurassic World had a animatronic dinosaur. And that was with, I believe it was the Brachiosaur that was killed by the Indominus. And you have Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt there. That scene was good because it felt like it was actually there. And I believe, if I'm not correct, some of the ghosts for the movie were, like in the original Ghostbusters, they did use animatronics for some of those, correct?
Yeah, it was a weird process. Basically, they were all sort of like puppets that were filmed and then had effects added to them and then were added to the movie itself. There was a whole process of layer and layer and layer that went on through it. But yeah, they were all built. Well, as far as I know, they were all built. I'm sure there might have been some, but then again, it was also the 80s. I mean, look, one of the reasons that that it's taken like 20 years, maybe 30 now, to get Gremlins 3 is that they finally decided that what they will do is a sequel and not pretending the first two movies didn't exist. But what took so long for about 15 of those years was that they said, well, heck, listen, most of the storyline for those two movies was driven by the fact that the Gremlins were puppets that had to be done a certain way. So you had to tell the story that you could make those puppets do. But now, with computer animation, you can do literally anything with the Gremlins. So it's harder for them to write a single storyline because you can do anything. Now, it's that once that thought process became public, the internet kind of said, hey, shut up, because making them CG would look awful. And if you're going to make a Gremlins movie, why would you not use the puppets? So they're doubling back on it now and saying, no, when we make number 3, it will be practical. And the fans are actually happy about that.
Yet practical effects should not be
but it's even worse because look, even if you want to say, well, the ghosts, they should be CG, that way you can see through them and they look all mystical and shit, even though they just let's be honest with ourselves, in that trailer, if that's the final look, they look like Pixar animation. They don't look like ghosts. They look like cartoons.
Yeah.
But beyond that, when the blue gray lady is vomiting, it's clearly not real. You really couldn't make that happen? I mean, you couldn't have like a slime hose and then animate a ghost over it later? Really? Was that too much work to make the slime real? Because, and even then, even if they show a shot of her afterward covered in actual slime, that's going to make it worse. Because when you transition an effect immediately from CG to practical, the practical always looks better, and it's so jarring. I don't care how good your CG is right now. Even in 2016, when you transition from CG to practical, it's going to be jarring.
And, well, yeah, heading back to the original, like, look at the original Jurassic Park. That's an example of transitioning from CG to practical. And I will probably take what is widely considered to be the best scene from the original Jurassic Park, which was the T-Rex breakout. And that was done well, but a keen eye can tell what was CG and what was a practical animatronic.
Yeah.
And that's them doing it well.
Yeah. And that's where, and listen, Jurassic Park, the whole franchise has one story to tell. There were dinosaurs, and then people fucked with them, and then the dinosaurs tried to kill them. That's the whole thing every time.
That is the entire thing. At least Jurassic World did one thing right, and that's the thing that a lot of people like. This managed to do what the Lost World couldn't, and it portrayed the dinosaurs as animals, as they were meant to be portrayed. These are not monsters, they're animals.
Yeah.
And while there are some bits of Jurassic World that I find a little bit hard, like I had to stretch my suspension of disbelief just a bit to think that would be to work. Like seriously, after the end fight with the Indominus, you really don't think that the Raptor and the T-Rex would have just been like, okay, we cool now, and then just leave? No, that wouldn't have happened. The only reason that the T-Rex was going at all was because he saw the flare, he saw Claire, they knew that the T-Rex knew that meant food, so it would have immediately turned on the characters and tried to eat them. But then again, this is Jurassic Park, suspension of disbelief.
Well, I mean, let's look. The imagination of Jurassic Park is stunted not only by having one story to tell, but also just in even, I guess, minimal knowledge of what dinosaurs existed. And let's not even talk about the fact that I only think like 2 dinosaurs they've used in all 4 movies existed during the Jurassic period. But
it should have been called Cretaceous Park.
Yeah, it was like, I was always wrong. Every movie it's been wrong.
Well, you'd have to blame Michael Crichton for that. That wasn't exactly the film's fault.
The film can call us all whatever it wants. Anyway, I'm just saying, like, you also had to give them massive credit on having no idea how many dinosaurs there are or how to creatively utilize these wild animals, because they went directly to completely making shit up with, oh, now we've got one that we mutated because other dinosaurs aren't cool enough. It's like, really?
Well, to be fair, I liked what they did with the Indominus because it was kind of a little bit of a social commentary on our society now, how when we could have the most amazing thing on God's green earth, and in a month we'd be over it. That's the thing.
Okay, time out. First of all, let's acknowledge the fact that zoos have existed in the world for a very long time.
No, they have.
Let us also acknowledge that people still go to them, even though they've existed for a long time. Now, do not try to get me to believe that anyone, I don't give a damn what your age is, if someone says, hey, want to go look at the dinosaurs? Everyone you know will say, yeah, I kind of do. You will not go, you would never go to a dinosaur zoo and see a fucking Lexivosaurus and say, I'm over it. No, that would not happen.
Well, I mean, though the park, like, consider the fact that the park's been open for 10 years at this point.
It would still be awesome. Look, I don't even I was the kind of kid who people were like, oh, Tyrannosaurus Rex. And I'm like, you've never seen one because they don't exist. So shut up. Like, I didn't care. I didn't care. Even the Dinobots, I thought they were kind of funny and really dumb, but I appreciated them without caring that they were dinosaurs. Okay? Like, I don't care about dinosaurs at all, but if you tell me, hey, I just recreated all of dinosaurs, that would be fucking amazing. There's no way anyone would get tired of the fact that you've brought creatures that are extinct by the tens of millions of years back from their extinction. It's just not if you brought back the woolly mammoth, all it is a hairy ass elephant. And everyone would say that is awesome forever. There's no way. Like, if you had a woolly mammoth in a pen across from the elephant pen, elephants would get pissed because they would be saying that. People would be flocking to the woolly mammoth, and the elephant would be like, guys, what about me? I'm awesome. I was here first, sort of.
Yeah.
Depending on the timeline.
Are we talking chronologically?
Yeah, here in the zoo first. Technically a classic. All that guy is me without a haircut. But people would go because it's the weird thing. I just don't fucking buy it. It's just not possible.
And then also consider, I think that the whole thing with the Indominus was also tied into the subplot of InGen wanting to weaponize them. So that was the ulterior motive to begin with.
Okay, but all I'm saying is that could have been its own movie. That is, my God, how is that not like just having dinosaurs alive? Look, that movie would have made its money just on nostalgia, right? But a movie where you say, if you I can't even fathom this. If you would go to a fucking movie studio and say, I want to make a movie, and they say, what is it? And you say, people bring back dinosaurs to weaponize them for the military. That is its own thing. That is its own separate franchise. That will have 10 movies, 3 cartoon series, and endless comic books.
Do you actually, I don't know if you know this, but the original rumors for Jurassic Park 4, years and years ago, I am not even kidding you, human dino hybrids.
Well, of course. Why not?
No, seriously, that was stupid.
Well, no, hold on. That's only stupid as Jurassic Park 4. Or anything that really in the Jurassic Park thought process of let's make the same movie a bunch of times. On its own, turning people into dinosaur mutants might actually be pretty cool. I would watch it.
I think we all would.
That's what I'm saying. You'd at least watch the movie.
Like, what fresh hell is this?
You'd make a decision afterward. But the trailer, there's no way that a trailer for, hey, we're turning people into dinosaur mutants, the movie, wouldn't get you to watch the actual movie.
Sony, hire us. No, actually, no. Sony, don't hire us, Sony.
Don't hire us.
Any good movie studio, seriously, hire us. We have good ideas here. We're just two insane men rambling on the internet, and yet we're coming up with better ideas than most of your people can come up with.
And it's nuts because, like the Ghostbusters thing, they're making this movie rehashing the first movie.
Yeah.
Now, I do not believe this movie will bomb. It might. That's always a possibility.
With the sheer amount, I have not seen a negative backlash for. I haven't seen any sort of negative backlash against the film this much since The Last Airbender.
Really? Because I've actually seen people. I saw a guy today. The trailer came out and I watched it, and this guy, somebody was like, "This looks really vapid," and it might be too harsh of a word, but I was like, "Yeah, whatever." And the guy who posted it said, "Man, I'm getting nostalgia chills for this. Anyone who says anything else is stupid liar," or something like that. I'm sure it was more eloquent, but But I was like, no, Jurassic Park, you can play the nostalgia card because it's the only movie they make, and now it's happened again.
And in some token, Star Wars.
Well, no,
with The
exactly.
Force
Star Wars.
Awakens.
I even told him, even though Star Wars is probably the worst franchise to ever to exist,
Shut
I was
up.
like, look, this is the Star Wars movie is an actual sequel, and it brought back the 3 characters that everyone loves. So that is pure nostalgia. That movie could have been all 3 prequels wrapped together, and it still would have been $1 billion source because it hit every bit of nostalgia possible.
Oh, it did, and it made over $2 billion. And not only did it capitalize on the nostalgia, it also introduced us to new characters that a lot of us liked.
But here's the thing: the same person said that anybody who hates on this movie is hating on it because it doesn't have ancient Ghostbusters from 30 years ago. And I said, hang on a second. Star Wars worked because you brought back the original characters and pushed the story forward by bringing in the next generation. Ghostbusters 3 has tried to do that since 1999, and instead you got a new cast playing characters that are in no way connected to the original franchise, and you're going to say that that's somehow as nostalgic as bringing back the original cast of Star Wars? That seems like 2 completely different thoughts.
Yeah, that's just literally, I think that's people who are desperate for a new Ghostbusters film. And again, desperation doesn't lead to a good movie.
No, and what confused me way back when the director was all like, I'm going to make a movie that's not connected to those 2 movies, me. Because I guess he sounds like a 6th grader. I don't know. But I thought, well, so he's just using the word Ghostbusters to sell a movie he wants to write. Okay, we'll see what that means then in a couple of months. But then they were like, hey, we're leaking pictures of the Ecto-1. And I'm like, well, what? Why is there an Ecto-1 if it's not based on their other movies? And then they leaked pictures of the proton packs, which look kind of steampunky versions of the originals. And I'm like, okay, they have proton packs and they look like the originals? What the hell? And then they're like, oh yeah, it's 4 individuals, 3 whites and a black. And I'm like, why? What's the point of them being female if their skin tones are exactly the same as the other movie, except that's why they're doing that, aren't they? To mirror the first movie that you said you were trying not to duplicate. And then you find out about the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, which, by the way, I'm sure will look great in CG.
I did not
gonna
know.
Be fucking disgusting.
I did not know that the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was in the film until you told me.
Oh yeah, if you look at the IMDb, hell, if you look at Warwick Davis's page, his website, it'll tell you he's in it as Stay Puft. And
oh, Warwick Davis! I just remember you when you were Wicket.
Wicked. But I mean, it's just like, so what you and they're using the exact same no ghost symbol. They didn't update it at all. They didn't even update it.
They just ripped it straight from there and just.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll tell you this much: I like the sound of the theme music because it really just is a pretty cool version of the actual theme.
Someone actually asked. They said, "Did they seriously make a dubstep remix of the original Ghostbusters theme?" And I will say, I actually liked the music because, you know, the Ghostbusters theme is in and of itself a tune that you can dance to at like a club or something.
Yeah, I mean, like, hell, I even if I'm working on a script for something, horror related, I will. There are certain musics that I will look up to play while I'm working, and one of them is the opening credits music from Ang Lee's Hulk. Now, that movie's really not good, but the music is fine. You know, and there's always something to like about any given movie. Okay, I'm not trying to just spit bile for the sake of it, but there were clearly better options for how to handle the Ghostbusters franchise, and I have no idea why they settled on a Nightmare on Elm Street quality rehash, technically remake, but maybe not. I don't get it. Because I mean that's what Nightmare on Elm Street did. Nightmare on Elm Street was, hey, let's take all of the really iconic moments from the past 7 movies, and put them in a script all together. We'll change the main character's name for no reason, and then Freddy Krueger, instead of being a murderer, will be a child molester. Because that makes sense. And oh, look, what happened after that fucking disaster? Nothing. There are no sequels to that whiny ass Fred Krueger movie.
And didn't they do the same thing with Friday the 13th?
Sort of, but that one was lesser damage. I mean, that one was weird because Jason was some skinny pot farmer, but that one is more confusing than anything else.
And then you got Rob Zombie with Halloween.
That's not even a remake. That drove me nuts when they were like, he's remaking Halloween. And then there's a quote that I'm sure I have to paraphrase this, but basically what he said in this really famous quote was, if you're going to remake a movie, there's no point in remaking a movie if you don't do something entirely different. And every time I see that quote, it's like my brain just shuts off for a second. Because I'm like trying to figure out how he thinks that you can call a movie a remake if you are just making a different movie. That is not what a remake is. The word remake implies making another version of a movie that does exist. And then his movie was all about missing the point of the actual Halloween. Oh, is the point of your movie that this guy's a psychotic, rage-filled murderer for no reason that anyone can fathom? Well, instead, how about we pretend there is a reason and make Michael Myers a sympathetic character?
Yeah, difficult childhood. Yeah. You know, you remember Loomis's amazing speech about when he first met Michael?
Mm-hmm.
And how he looked into those soulless eyes, the devil's eyes.
And there was nothing left, and I knew right then this child could never be set back into the world. Or, how about we show instead...
Stupid white horse.
It's like 10-year-old, tubby, blonde, stringy-haired Michael Myers whining that he wants to go home, and Loomis constantly saying that he's sorry for not helping Michael enough, but never actually show any of their therapy sessions in which Loomis sucks at being a therapist. We'll just assume he sucks because he keeps apologizing for it.
Yeah.
I just don't fucking get that shit.
You know, we're living in the age of remakes.
No, okay, time out. Hold on. Look, movies... Look, fucking... The Thing. Everyone bitched and moaned because The Thing sort of got remade. Now, I will say it's bullshit. If you're going to make a remake or a sequel, put your foot down and do what you're going to do. Don't play that fucking straddle the fence. It's sort of a remake and sort of a sequel. That's pussy shit.
Didn't they say it was a prequel?
They tried. I don't know.
But my point is, don't know about.
My point is, The Thing that was made in the 80s is a remake. Okay? So remakes have existed forever. You know, Double Indemnity was made in 1944, I think, and got remade in 1970-something. It's been going on ever since film was invented, because as technology evolves, so evolves the methods for making movies. It's totally cool with me if you want to take a movie and make a version of it with today's technology. Because why not? Look, plays are recast every day. Shakespeare's works have been done, it's got to be in the trillions of performances. And that's fine. It doesn't matter how many versions of a movie get made as long as you can afford to make them. But actually remake the movie. Don't rewrite the characters and the setting and the time frame and the location and the plot and then call it a remake.
Must resist Man of Steel comment.
Oh no, go ahead.
One of the reasons that, now I'm going to say this from the get-go, I am not a Superman fan. Never have been. But my brother showed me the Richard Donner Superman, and for those of you who are wondering, Superman 2 is the much, much better film than anything that they're popping out these days. That's my opinion. Don't castrate me over it.
Is it? Really?
I liked Superman 2.
Isn't that the one where he flies around the earth the wrong way?
No. That's the first one.
Okay. All right.
The second one was Kneel Before Zod.
Boy, was it. Anyway, continue.
Well, the thing is that there have been many different interpretations of the Superman mythos, which, by the way, many critics have said that it was actually the animated show that was the most faithful to the mythos. Let that sink in for a moment. A children's cartoon was more faithful than any other version of the mythos. Just let that sink in for a moment. But I've seen different versions of Superman as far as his origin is concerned. And when Man of Steel wanted to adapt Superman's origin to a modern day setting, I thought it was interesting at first. I thought, when they were promoting this movie, I was genuinely curious. I'm like, okay, they're doing him in a world like today, in today's society. How would we react to a man with this much power? To a man who, in all aspects, would be like a god. But the problem was the characters didn't feel real. And when people ask what I think, I was like, I point to Kevin Costner as Jonathan Kent. Seriously, who wrote him? he feels like, the scenes where he's actually acting like a father, like where he's reprimanding Clark, saying like, we talked about this, about you showing your powers, it's dangerous. That is a parent being afraid that their son would be taken away from them. That is good. But then you have him like literally praising him as the next Messiah by saying like, you're the answer to are we alone in the universe? When they know about you, everything will change. And then the next scene is like, no, you're going to be a farmer.
Yeah, I will never understand. And hey, I'm a guy who was okay with the movie, but I will never understand how I'm supposed to believe that anyone under any circumstances other than like severe depression is going to just stand in the open waiting for the tender embrace of a tornado. That will always to me just be like, what were they?
I'm actually going to point out something the nostalgia critics said about this. Everyone who dies in this movie, in Man of Steel, they don't even say like "ow." No, I am honest to God serious. Look at Superman's mother, his biological mother, as the Krypton's blowing up. Look at Jor-El when he gets stabbed. He doesn't say anything. You got what is it? Jonathan Kent, who's, as you said, waiting for the sweet embrace of death. Yeah, even Deadpool's looking at them and going, you could say "ow,"
Yeah, release a little,
a little emotion there,
yeah, a little pressure maybe.
like a whimper. Would that be good?
I wonder though, because you have all these remakes, that well, okay, Halloween. We'll start there because
Yeah.
that one got a sequel, and Halloween 2, sort of started off as a remake of Halloween 2, but then very suddenly was not anymore and just went fucking out of its mind. And so you wonder, look, here's Ghostbusters ripping off, I guess not even ripping off, but just rehashing, I guess we'll just keep using that word. Taking all the big hits from the original and pretending they belong to this movie. Does that mean that when it gets its inevitable sequel, is it going to sort of live off of Vigo, the Carpathian, or will someone be forced to actually write a new story? Because if that's the case, why didn't they just do that now?
That's true.
I mean, I get. To me, it doesn't matter because this movie to me is like when I realized what Transformers was going to be. And
you were intrigued, and then as soon as you realized what was coming, you went, "Oh."
Well, like I'm watching I knew ahead of like 8 months ahead of time when they leaked those hideous fucking pictures of Prime and Megatron, and I'm like, oh wow, so you don't know what you're doing. And right then was when I was like preparing myself for awfulness, and I expected to me I expected it to be like X-Men, where when I left the theater for X-Men, I was like, well, that was an okay movie. It was just that it wasn't really an X-Men movie.
It was serviceable. It just wasn't what
it was fine, but I didn't really appreciate any of it. But then I went to Transformers, and I'm like expecting that, right? I'm like, well, he doesn't really know what he's doing, but I'm sure it's an okay movie that I'll just be like, yeah. And then it was just fucking brutal to get through, like fucking embarrassing. But this, I'm already prepared for it to be not good. I'm prepared to kind of like with Spy. When I was watching Spy, like I said, there was one joke that started to make me laugh, and then they made sure that it wouldn't. And then there was one joke that didn't make me laugh. But all through that movie, I'm just sitting there watching it, and I'm saying to myself, oh, that was a joke. Wow, that was a joke too.
Yeah, you should laugh now.
Wow. They are just saying a lot of jokes that just aren't landing anywhere.
Ghostbusters was performed in front of a live studio audience at Universal Studios Florida.
Yeah, and I'm like, wow, if they're gonna do what they did with Spy, this is really gonna be a chore to sit through. I just don't know. Theme music's cool though.
Yeah, at least that's one thing we can give.
Well,
I will say the one joke, I don't even know. Maybe it's because I laugh at bad jokes a lot, or some stuff that doesn't make sense. Seriously, I'll laugh at anything. But when they showed off the hearse that was supposed to be Ecto, that was going to be Ecto 1, they were like, you didn't mention that the vehicle in question was a hearse, and the black girl's like, oh, it's a Cadillac. I'm like, that got a chuckle out of me. I don't know why. It shouldn't have.
But, what confuses me is, well, I guess it doesn't confuse me much, because clearly these guys watched the movie but didn't really pay attention to anything else. They didn't do any real in-depth stuff. But in the original script, Ecto 1 was black and gold. And so I see them pull up with the black car, and I'm like, why didn't you keep it black to keep yours at least somewhat your own? instead of making it just, God, you know, that car looks like fucking cosplay. That car, their Ecto-1 looks like you were going to go to a convention and you wanted to dress up your car like Ecto-1. It doesn't even look good.
I heard there's supposed to be an Ecto 2.
Oh, there is. You know what it is?
Yeah, it's a motorcycle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a dirt bike. Which, if you know, if you, oh God, there was an Ecto 2. Did you know that?
I did not.
Okay, there's an Ecto 2 that is, basically it's like a 3-wheeled helicopter meant for 2 people. So it's not like big. It's a small thing. But the Ghostbusters would bust it out, like in the cartoons in the comic, when something was too flighty, something that wasn't necessarily haunting a location that they had to chase down quickly, and the car wouldn't work. And now Ecto 2 is a dirt bike. And you're just like, you sit there and you say to yourself, you think that what you're doing is making something new. You think that by adding Ecto 2, you're making your movie one step beyond the original, but all you're doing is showing off that you don't know that there already is a very famous Ecto 2. It's just like the handgun shit. You really think that you are improving upon the existing established canon by adding fucking pistols? It's fucking okay. And the thing that you told me that you actually liked, which I kind of want to slap you for.
Don't worry. I would like to slap you for all the comments you've made over the past couple of hours.
I don't know what you're talking about. So
no, you know exactly. You know damn well what you're talking about.
Did we cover the slapping thing? I don't think we did.
Yes. No, we did not.
Okay, so last part of the trailer that I think stands out as just being fucking agonizing to me is when they spell out for you that, oh, the ghost can possess people, as if that's a new fucking plot point, by the way. Like the first supernatural movie to think of that. Anyway, then they show McCarthy get possessed, and I don't know the black woman's name, but she's on top of her.
Patty, that's her name.
So she smacks McCarthy in the face and is all like, "Get out of my friend, ghost!" And then the giant glowing ghost leaves her friend's body.
I think that's Slimer. I think that was Slimer.
It might be. I don't know. But it leaves right in front of her. She's literally physically on top of McCarthy. So there's maybe 3 feet between their faces. And then after the ghost leaves, she screams at it again and smacks her again, full force.
I thought that was that was sweet revenge for every time she McCarthy had to explain a joke.
Look, it's always nice to see someone slap the shit out of Melissa McCarthy. I will give you that.
Please don't read too much into that internet.
What I'm saying is our ghost hunting hero, one of them, smacks a woman in the face. The entity right in front of her leaves in a glowing streak, and then she doesn't notice. Really? These are our heroes now?
Our heroes, ladies and gentlemen.
There's just going to be, look, and you can tell me how funny Melissa McCarthy is, and you are wrong, and you are making excuses, but I'll let you do it, and I won't argue back. But what you cannot tell me with a straight face is that there will be any tension at any point in this movie. There cannot be. Hell, in Ghostbusters 2, just watching them, you know, when they're being paralyzed by Vigo and he's about to possess the baby. Hell, before that, when it's just Ray and Egon looking at the photos of Vigo, in the firehouse, and the door locks and the room lights up. And Winston has to bust in the door with the fire extinguisher. That scene, it gets real tense real fast because shit got serious, and there's no way that there's going to be any kind of seriousness in this movie. I don't think that guy can write a serious scene. In fact, the only scene in Spy, the only scene where McCarthy was doing anything close to acting, not even acting, but performing. There's a scene in Spy where she's talking to the villain and she's telling her straight how it is, and she's not acting like that awkward fat girl that she plays in every fucking movie. She's playing a real character who's standing up to someone. And it's only for a few minutes. But when she does it, I think to myself, okay, why aren't you making an actual movie with this actual character instead of playing that awkward fat girl again? So there's even a moment in Spy that I will give credit to. And I can tell you right now by the tone and the stupid coloring of this trailer that they have missed the point of balance in a Ghostbusters movie that you mentioned earlier. And there's no way that even J. Michael Straczynski, who wrote a bunch of the animated series.
Yeah.
He I've seen interviews where he said, look, if everything's funny, then nothing is funny. And if everything's scary, then nothing is scary. You have to balance that out. They knew this in the cartoon. And they did it perfectly until, oddly enough, the studio stepped in and ruined the cartoon series. So you can tell by that trailer that they don't know this. They made, I guess, a big budget movie that looks like a big budget summer movie, but without any kind of effort. So who are you going to call? Somebody else.
Yes, somebody. I see what you did there.
That line, remember the movie Casper?
I do remember that scene. I remember that scene.
Exactly. That should have been the last shot in that trailer. Is Ray stands running out of the house. Who are you going to call? Somebody else.
You know what? I actually want to look, and I'm going to find that scene. And I'm gonna cut that to the end of the trailer.
Good. I will share the shit out of that.
Or how about this? Like Dan Aykroyd reacts to the Ghostbusters trailer. Who are you gonna call? Somebody else.
Oh my god. And here's the other thing. I've heard that he and Ernie and Annie all have cameos as well.
Yeah, but they're not going to be their own characters. They're going to be different.
Oh, yeah, they're going to be somebody else because it can't be. And I'm like, well, it's good that they've at least agreed to not bastardize the characters. And at the same time, it's well, again, it's kind of like the Transformers thing where Peter Cullen made Optimus Prime's personality work in the cartoons, and he's the iconic character. And so when the backlash from the fans came after those characters were leaked out, and they were fucking hideous. And that's when Michael Bay said, oh, well, also, I got the original voice to be Optimus Prime. Don't you like that? Will you still see my movie? And it's like, well, your movie still sucks immensely. And they all do. They're all fucking terrible. But I love the fact that Peter Cullen is making so much money, even if it's from these horrible movies, because he deserves all that money for basically creating Optimus Prime.
That's true.
In the same way, I will always cheer for Ernie and Annie and Dan and even Rick Moranis if he wanted to show up. He's one of those guys, by the way, who said if they made Ghostbusters 3, he would show up to do it, and they didn't do it. But
I think the thing was there are two movies. I think Rick Moranis, I don't know if he's gone on record with saying this. I know he probably said about Ghostbusters 3, but I think they said if they made a Spaceballs 2, he would be back for that.
The last I heard, by the way, it was being called Spaceballs 3: The Search for Spaceballs 2. And that the whole cast is saying, fuck it, we'll come back if you want to do another one. So,
Well, except for John Candy, God rest his soul.
well, yeah, John Candy and Joan Rivers can't really come back.
Oh, and Joan Rivers. Oh,
But
well, the thing is that I really what peeves me at the end of the day is that the door was wide open that you could have connected these films to the previous two Ghostbusters films. It would not have been difficult for you at all.
well, now, and I will say real quickly, one of the things that a friend of mine, a filmmaker friend of mine, was saying is that you've had 30 years now of the world has to accept that the supernatural isn't supernatural, it's a real thing, because the Ghostbusters are dealing with it every day now. And to try to explain that and have a plot in a movie is too much. And I said, well, no, because you explained it in the game you made. The game is an extension. It's a canon storyline.
So yeah, essentially what basically that is, your game is Ghostbusters 3.
Yeah, the game basically was Ghostbusters 2.5, I would say. And in that, they point out the fact that because you couldn't cover up Gozer anymore, and because you have to acknowledge the fact that New York's negativity basically created the doorway for Vigo to come in and try to possess a fucking baby, you assholes, that the mayor decided, yeah, you know what, we're going to go ahead and open up a contract with the Ghostbusters to be the city's official, basically, ghost police. And so that's how they were in business in the game. And that was canon. Dan and Harold both wrote that game storyline.
And that game was phenomenal.
It is. And the writing is fucking amazing. And
well, yeah, that's because Dan helped write it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dan and Harold wrote the entire storyline for the game. So
I mean, like, I think at that point, don't you think at that point they were just thinking, it's like, fuck it, we're not going to wait for Ghostbusters 3. We're going to get this story out there one way or another.
Yeah, and so you would totally be able to just say, everyone knows that this is there. They've got a patent on the technology. They don't have to share it with anyone. That's all you have to say about it. And that people... there are people, I swear to God, when I got my coffee today, I met a girl who thinks the earth is flat. For real. Okay? So don't tell me that there would not be people in a post, hey, ghosts are real world that still don't believe in ghosts. Okay? It's always going to be that way. But hell, I was even thinking, when this movie fails to inspire the fans, because I don't think it'll bomb necessarily. If it does, that's even better. But I don't necessarily think it will completely bomb. It will, however, fail to inspire the fans. I don't think the critics are going to be nice to it. And what they could very well do, the game takes place in, I think, 1994. All you would have to do is set your you take like 10 episodes, 45 to 50-minute long episodes on Showtime, and you recast the characters because they got to be in their late 30s, early 40s, but you set a Ghostbusters series with the characters that everyone knows in New York in 1996. And you go from there. That way you could have Aykroyd play the mayor. You could have Winston play the fire chief. You could, or not Winston, listen to me. You could have Ernie play the fire chief. However you want to bring in the original performers as homage to the films. But you would have new actors playing the right characters.
Yeah.
And honest to God, these days, I really think having a 10 to 13 episode series is better than having movies anyway.
Yeah.
You know, a movie is a fine one-off production, but the Ghostbusters, the characters are already known, the tone is already set. In 13 episodes, you could totally build up a villain and take him down.
That is true. Well, on that note, we will adjourn for today. So thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you guys next time. Take care and talk to you later.